Welcome to R2P Origins, episode 10. I will be the first person to tell you that part of the reason why we are here today is a mix of luck and amazing people. Things that I think somehow there's maybe some kind of greater thing controlling the events and things that have gone on that are beyond our power that we can't really even come up with an explanation for. And others are maybe just a byproduct of creating an environment that is attractive. But regardless, I'm going to talk about two people that really were very, very impactful and gave us different things that myself and Zach could not give our company at that point in time that were essential. And it's kind of crazy that they're not with us, but their stamp on the company was definitely noted, especially one of them where I would argue that the fabric of Rehab to Perform is still largely influenced by his time with us. But that first person is Karen Farrar, and you probably don't hear about her as much when you think about our company. She's not currently doing anything with us, although she is somebody who I stay in touch with, and I know Zach does as well, but she was the person who came in and thought a lot more policy and procedure than Zach or myself. The words compliance, the word process, finding ways to have certain checklists associated with both clinical and clerical tasks because we weren't really well developed behind the scenes. But she made sure that to Zach and I's more fun, freewheeling style of running the office and keeping things loose, she kept us in check. And without that blend and those kind of checks and balances, we could have potentially ran into issues. I mean, fortunately we didn't, but she did such a good job at providing that contrast to maybe things that Zach and I were good at and had a certain affinity towards thinking in ways in which neither of us did. And then that goes kind of hand in hand with when Jared Boyd joined us. And I'll just really throw this back a little bit, right? And I'll still remember getting the resume, and I think it was during a work day, and I look over at Zach and I'm like, Zach, look at this resume. Like, this person is like overqualified, you know, and you're going through their internship stuff and Con Ed, and you're like, wow, like this is by far, you know, because you get resumes casually and you look at them, and it's not to say that all the resumes that we get aren't some level of impressive, but this was just in a different stratosphere entirely. And I remember, I think immediately reaching back out, hey, sure, like we're not in a position to hire right now, but we will be in a couple months. If you're willing to have a conversation, like come out and meet us, and we can, you know, kind of go from there. And Jared came out to see us, and I'll never forget it, but you know, he's coming out extremely professional, buttoned up, suit, tie. Here's Zach and I literally treating him like a t-shirt and gym shorts at this point in time. Kind of goes what I said in earlier conversations where we lacked a little bit of polish at this point in time, and he knocked out the interview, and you were just like, wow, this person is exactly what we need. And they just seemingly almost like fell into our lap. You know, he had not had a good first experience with where he was at work-wise. He wanted to be somewhere where he was around passionate clinicians, sports and orthopedic rehab, and bettering himself professionally, having a company that would invest in him, and, you know, really just having a certain amount of intellectual curiosity about him that I think that we needed. Zach and I driving a little bit more of the clinical, you know, expertise at that point in time, and we had certain areas that we certainly were stronger in. And then talking to him, and even after he started with us, recognizing that he had certain things that we needed as well, that we we're not as strong in. I mean, when I think of things like tendinopathy, or I think of things about like communication and language, just the level of which he employed certain principles with things like listening and motivational interviewing, I think just really expanded our ability to offer the kind of service that we wanted to offer. He had an extreme passion for clinical education, so that kind of aligned with the rest of the company as well. He was very, very passionate about that professional connectivity, and obviously has done just such a good job. But those two people, and if I look back on, and it's not to say that every hire and every addition has not been something in which I have just a tremendous amount of gratitude for somebody actually deciding that this is a great environment and a team in which to spend time to develop themselves and to invest themselves into what we have going on collectively. But those two additions to our team, you know, in the earlier parts of a young company, you know, a startup, were just so critical to us being able to get our feet wet in that Frederick community, in my opinion, stamping our name as somebody to be taken seriously from a healthcare standpoint, and then carrying that momentum into that that first brick and mortar that I mentioned in the previous episode. But the importance of people cannot be undervalued, and sometimes timing, whether it's luck or, as I mentioned earlier, maybe it's just a collection of things that you have done to make that environment attractive where somebody does reach out. But regardless, those two people were so important to us, really, in my opinion, not just thinking that Rehab to Perform can be successful in one brick and mortar location, but many. So extremely grateful for both of them, even though they're not with us right now. Their stamp on the company has been noted. It's been extremely appreciated by myself, and I feel just grateful to have both of them in our timeline of events over these past 6 years. Somebody like Jared, who still regularly, just through conversations on a clinical standpoint, still adds to the layers within our team here at Rehab to Perform. So that's something for anybody who's out there who's thinking about potentially doing their own thing. You know, those early hires are some of your most important additions to your team, and you have to be very, 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 very careful about who you add. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and Karen and Jared, if you're watching this, thank you so much. Stay tuned, episode 11 coming at you tomorrow.